Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 400, and today we're doing battle in the top cut of the Eternal Runeterra Open. So it's an exciting time to have that Battles with Bust number 400 come together, having a nice top cut video, our first top cut since we've switched over from the Lands of Expedition, and it's nice to have that milestone thing happen on a nice round number of videos. But if you didn't catch our previous video, we'll talk a little bit about the lineup that we're bringing the same one from the open rounds, and we're playing a triple forge lineup. And the kind of the idea with it is it's good against all the aggro stuff, all the aggro decks in the format. I feel pretty good about having the full forge package between the new 3-cost unit that heals every turn, and then the mender that heals 3 whenever you play it. Already having a pretty good stat-heavy baseline to just come out and block with as it is. It all works reasonably well against all the aggro stuff, and so I was happy against that. And so then the next two big decks of the kind of format were going to be Jack's Ornn, which I have no intention of banning ever, and then the the Samira, what's her name? Samira Seraphine Plaza Guardian deck. And in my play up through this point, I feel like the Samira deck was like slightly unfavored to kind of even across all of these matchups, and so I felt pretty good being in this spot to where we're just going to come out and ban the decks that bring us like real and true problems, things like Rise and things like Trundle Set that just play like a million different ways to single target down your big unit, which is pretty shitty when you're trying to put a gigantic equipment onto a single unit. Just getting it shut down turn after turn after turn, it's very easy for them to beat. But as time has kind of progressed over the course of the past week, it feels like that Samira Seraphine deck is more like closer to a 40-60 in their favor than a 45 to 50% win rate, slightly unfavored kind of thing. And so that's what worries me ultimately as we run through this event. We're probably not going to be able to ban that deck out. We're just going to have to suffer through some kind of bad matchups there. But at the end of the day, hopefully it will work out for us. But as we are taking mention to Jack's Ornn, the other kind of curveball that we have across all of our decks is we're playing Buried in Ice in all of them. And so it gives us that kind of edge against the equipment deck in the sense that if you Buried in Ice your opponent's equipment, the equipment just gets destroyed, so ours are still around and your opponent's are not. So even if you don't get the win off of the Buried in Ice, you've typically set your opponent back a irrecoverable amount since all of their equipment got destroyed and they've lost all of their forges. And then it still just works out nicely against all the kind of mid-rangey style decks of the format. So things that have like Victor in it, like Victor Aphelios, things that are just trying to flood the board with random dudes and stall it out for a long time, you tend to do pretty okay in that space. And so we can pull up the matchup tables again real quick. Again, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this. Up in the top left is just the top 10 decks of the meta. The stats in this format are kind of messed up given that everyone got reset to iron and the stat quality just isn't super high, but up against all of the top 10 most common decks, everything is pretty okay. The aggro section down on the bottom left, again, everything is pretty okay. Trundle Vi doesn't look as good as it typically is. We'll talk about the deck in just a moment, but we're playing a more forge heavy deck that has concurrent timelines in it and not the full concurrent timelines build around, so we do hang up a little bit better against aggro than just the concurrent timelines deck. And then the decks that are actually kind of problems are over here in this middle section. The Drisoth style elusives decks are just nightmares for everything that we're doing. Thankfully, we didn't run across that at the course of the day one of the open, but that is pretty terrible in terms of matchups. We do have some slight edge with our decks compared to the other Forge ones since we're playing Buried in Ice in place of the Forge AoE thing, since we can actually remove those elusives from the board as opposed to where a 2 damage AoE just doesn't do anything. But at the end of the day, these elusives matchups are pretty terrible, but ideally we're going to be dropping bans onto things like Rise or Trundle Set. We don't really like playing stuff that can go over top of our units, and so things like Thresh Nasus and Teemo Tristana are kind of annoying. They aren't terrible matchups, but being able to atrocity to our face through our bigger units is kind of a problem. And then the decks I'm hoping we don't actually encounter but are massive problems are what I like to call the brawler style decks. Things like Rumble Vayne, things like Action Varus, to a lesser degree some of the big Pantheon decks. We really struggle against those since we're kind of going toe-to-toe with big units, right? We'll have a big Ornn, our opponent will have a big Varus, but the opponent can typically just challenge into like a 1-2 and still OTK us from 20. And so these are pretty kind of fringe decks at the moment. We're hoping we don't run across them, but that's another weak point to the lineup that we're bringing. And so again, we'll try to ban out elusives, Rise, and Trundle set. The over-the-top decks we've listed at the bottom, although we don't see them very often. And then if things are going really well, we will be able to ban out the Seraphine Samira. Don't think that's going to happen. I think I got to do it once over the course of the open rounds, and I don't expect to be able to do it today. I suspect this deck is going to be all over the place, along with other annoying control decks to go with it. And so we'll just have to see how that kind of goes. So a quick overview of our decks. The way I always talk about these decks is if you want to see them in particular, you can just scroll backwards through the channel. We featured each of these decks individually in their own video, along with playing them all in the open in the previous video. And so pretty straightforward in terms of Jax Ornn. The only thing, again, is we aren't playing the AoE Forge thing, and in place of that, we're playing Buried in Ice. I think that's a big way to come in and give us some edge in the mirror matches, and you can actually drop it on some big Plaza Guardians and such along the way as well. I've been reasonably happy with Buried in the Ice, even if we've been just like a beat behind in dropping the really good ones. But ultimately, the most straightforward deck of our list, and I feel like this got banned in every round but 2 or 3, and so I don't expect Jax Ornn to turn up as a playable deck very frequently. Up next is Infinity Patron's Vayne Jarvan deck. We had tons of success with this in the previous day. A lot of the same ideas running along with this. We have a big Forge package between the Weaponsmith's Apprentice and the Favored Artisans. Then we have the big heal package to go along with it as well between the Innovative Blacksmith and the Hearthblood Mender. But this deck, it has a lot of the similarities to Jax Ornn, but it attacks in a lot of different ways. The big things that you're able to pull off with this is getting the kind of scout-based rallies off of your scout units, whether or not that's a scout rake from an improvise or off of the Ranger Knight Defector, combining those with Cataclysms and Cataclysms and Tumbles from Vayne to pick up the rallies and 3 attacks in the same turn. Really lets us play a lot of similar cards, but have 2 decks that actually have wildly different game plans, and so it's kind of interesting how that plays out. The differences between our list and his: I play Inner Beast over Troll Chant. I don't think this is a very good Troll Chant deck. I think that this is a deck that you typically just have one good unit on the board, and I like having that unit to be able to win combats with the Inner Beast. You just don't run into too many spots to where you get that really juicy 2-for-1 off of the Inner Beast. We're also playing 3 copies of, only 2 copies of Buried in Ice. That's where the AoE Forge card would be. Again, we're looking to use this in the space of evening up the Jax Ornn matchup. And so if we're able to Buried in Ice away all of Jax Ornn's equipment while ours are still strong, gives us a reasonable advantage in that place. Last but not least, we are playing Trundle Vi Timelines. The way that I've been describing this deck, it's not a concurrent timelines deck. It's a Forge deck that has concurrent timelines in it. So the idea with this is if you're typically playing a concurrent timelines deck, you're going to play a bunch of search to help you come out and find it. You're going to play stuff like the 3-2 for 3 that digs in the top 5 cards of your deck. You might play some more Cycle. You might play that 4 mana unit that lets you predict and then get a fresh card in your hand. Hang on, we got kitty break. But we aren't playing any of that stuff. The way that we're kind of viewing this deck is we're a Forge deck, right? We have the Weaponsmith's Apprentice, the Favored Artisans, the 8-unit improvised package, and then the Hearthblood Mender to kind of round it all out. But the improvised package is so strong with the concurrent timelines that if we just naturally draw concurrent timelines in the early game and we're able to pop off with all of the improvises, that's great. But if it's more realistic to where we don't play the concurrent timelines until, like, say, turn 5, and then we get to use it on a Hearthblood Mender, and then we get to use it on Trundle's Ice Pillars from that point forward, it's still okay, right? And so it's still strong, even though we aren't playing the hard digs for it. So the other kind of interesting note that we'll have in here is the 2 Buried in Ice. That's pretty standard across the course of the Trundle Vi list, but we're also playing 1 copy of Sumpworks Map. This gives us a way to potentially hit the opponent for 10, 20, just off of a single Vi hit, and it gives us a way to just kind of sneakily close out the games. Now, this is going to be something that would have been much better in just the open rounds when people didn't know our deck list and they weren't able to see that we had the Sumpworks Map, but it's pretty tough to play around either way. And so you can get some really big and high-powered plays with a Scout unit coming in with Elusive, Vi coming in with Elusive, whatever. If you're able to dome your opponent for 12, that typically ends the game. If not, it should ideally get your opponent within burn range. And so that's it. Those are the decks. That's the idea. That's the strategy. You know what you're going to do before the battles begin, though. We had a lot of luck paying to win in the previous video. We did level, we leveled old Trundle up to World Breaker, and I feel like all we even have left at this point is to take Vi off of the arcane skin that you got for free for watching the TV show, or however that came about, and upgrade her to the epic Gilded Vi skin. And so hopefully that carries us, you know. I'm certainly not near the top of the pack in skill in terms of play quality, and so we got to have something to help us along the way. Hopefully this Gilded Vi is enough to help us at least secure 1 or 2 match wins. And so that's it. That's the deck. I'm ready for battle. We got to wait 18 minutes on the games to start, and then we'll get in here and begin. All right, off we go. Round number 1 against Joku. And it looks like we're up against the triple aggro lineup, and so reasonable enough to run up against this stuff. We're pretty happy to leave up the Teemo Elise deck. This is one of them to where, as far as the fearsome kind of packages go with the Stygian Onlooker and the elusives, we tend to have units that are big enough to just come in and block this stuff. And so I typically feel pretty okay running up against this one. Nothing too crazy in the list here. The one that I've been typically happy to ban out in these matchups is going to be Pirates. This is one to where we tend to play a lot of curve game, right? So we'll play a unit on 2, a unit on 3, a unit on 4, as to where the Pirates deck just completely floods the board and gets 6 units really fast, and we can't do enough to kind of mitigate the damage. And so that's the one that we're typically removing in these spots. Nothing too crazy in here as well. And so last but not least is Annie Jen. This is the one that I feel like we have a pretty good shot against. The Annie Jen deck tends to kind of peter out and run out of stuff to do. And so this is the one that I feel the most confident in. It's the one that has the most opportunity to just come in and blow us out, right? This one, if you stumble against Annie Jen, you're just going to get smoked. But I feel like it's the one of the more reasonable ones for us to want to come in and do battle with. And so let me see if we can't take a quick peek of these deck lists, see if we can't store this for later. Not the best at giving these a good remember, and so there's number 1, Annie Jen. What's at the bottom? The 3 decimates. Everybody can remember that 3 decimates are hanging out in this. Let's store that picture as well, and then I think we'll be good to go. I'm curious what opponent wants to ban here. In my experience, they're probably just going to come in and ban the Jax Ornn. It doesn't really change anything for me in terms of which of these decks I want to pick. But that's the one that we usually go. We've been struggling the most with the concurrent timelines deck running into these things. It's just the kind of space to where it has the least early game out of all of these, where we have the 9 2-drops in the Jax deck. We have a bunch of 1-drops in the Vayne deck, and this one only has 6 2-drops if memory serves. And so does have access to things like Mystic Shot, but it tends to be the slower one of our choices here. Let's take another peek at these real quick. I don't think there was anything too crazy coming out of these. 3 Mystic Shots is standard, 3 Get Exciteds, 2 Blowback, 1 Shock Blast, sure thing. And then in the Annie Jen, Strategic Execution is the one that's kind of new to me and kind of strange with the double stun coming out of it. I get it. I could see that being a thing, but not something that I ultimately think is too crazy. All right, click the ban, get the Pirates out of here. Opponent says no thank you to Jax Ornn, and we'll lead off with Jarvan. This is the one to where if we have to play one of our decks twice, I want to be able to play Jarvan twice. It just has the premier early game package out of all of our decks. All right, so what do we got? Reasonable enough start here with the Apprentice and the Healer. I'm going to get rid of Vayne and get rid of the Combat Cook, see if we can't find any more early game stuff to go along with these friends. Vayne is kind of an arguable keep, since if we roll into higher plays, it does kind of suck to not have that early game thing, but very strong mulligan with the Blacksmith coming in along with the Combat Cook redraw. Alright, so no blocks onto Annie. We'll go ahead and equip up the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. We're not going to have any targets for this thing, and then it also just becomes a pretty decent blocker, right? It can come in and start blocking Annie's, can take down most of the units in the opposing deck, so I think I'm okay with that. The Darkened Spear is the one I want to go ahead and play. There's a pretty reasonable chance we'll want to drop the Darkened Aegis as a unit, as to where if it gets to turn 8 and we're trying to drop a Nakas on the board, we've probably already won the game at that point anyways. Interesting pass from opponent. It's very tempting to just send it back and see what happens. Like, I'm curious if he's like stuck with just Imperial Demolitionist or something here. It's an actual no play. Wow. No complaints from me. Alright, Tusk Speaker comes in. More than ready to block him with the old Weaponsmith's Apprentice. And let's get this chain of healing going. So super strong that we're able to do this. I'm going to pick up the Fix'em 5000. That's going to give us the strongest attacks in these upcoming turns. Sure thing. Let's get the Jhin in hand. And another stun. Alright, well, no blocking today. I guess that's on the menu of things happening. Hopefully that's fine. And so I'm looking to just go ahead and take all of this damage. On the next turn, probably going to be dropping an open attack. I don't want to get into the spot. Well, it's kind of interesting. Our attacks aren't super important. It's like, I'm curious if what happens if, say, opponent plays a stun bird next turn to drop a stun onto one of our units. I don't super care. It's not the biggest deal. Like, I would rather have our units get stunned on this turn as opposed to getting stunned on next turn. But I think this is a reasonable open. Well, let's just eat it. If he stuns us here, I think that's okay. Like, if he plays a stage hand, I think we're pretty okay with it. Going with the Pot of Pain over the Scout Rake just gives us a fantastic block for these upcoming turns. Now we're ready to attack if we can. Again, if the stage hand comes in, stuns something, that's pretty reasonable for us. If he just plays Jhin, we still have a good attack with the Innovative Blacksmith. Feels like a pretty reasonable turn. And then next turn, we're in this spot to where we can play the Combat Cook, get the double heal, and then be able to fish fight something. It might be a little bit too slow to pull all of that off, but you know, very, very reasonable looking stuff here. All right. The Steadfast Elkin. Alright, well, we can still line up unit for unit. He's going to get a stun off of the Lotus Trap. That's okay. Let's send in the Combat Cook now. Make sure we get this double heal before the round really gets moving. I think we want the Fish-a-Whack here. Like, it is kind of interesting picking the Scout Rake at this point, but I would be looking to say load the Scout Rake up onto maybe Giral and then just get to pick and choose how the challenges go, right? If we're able to, like, pick on Annie and then pick on something else, but I kind of like the additional stats that just come out of the Fish-a-Whack. But I think if we pick the Rake and then draw, like, let's just go with the Rake. It's just the more high-powered of the plays that we have access to here. Like, either way, we're going to be able to just send it in front of Jhin and survive. If we had the option to take, like, Pot of Pain for a tough, it would have snatched that right up. But, of course, it wasn't an option in the way. Now we have a fresh choice in that we are only going to get to play one more card this turn. And do we want to either play a fish fight or do we want to get this Steadfast Elkin onto the board? If we're going to fish fight, I only really feel comfortable with fish fighting off of this Weaponsmith's Apprentice, so we could use it to pop onto a Tusk Speaker. How close is Jhin to flipping? Like, we still have a reasonable block onto Jhin with our other units. Just the problem we start to run into is if we roll out with the Elkin and then opponent has another stun, then we're really going to be hurting. But let's go with the bro. All right. Oh, he pulls Jhin back. That's delightful. I don't. I was gonna say, you can leave Jhin at home if you want. I don't want anything to do with that. Alright, so we're gonna have to lose our healer. We have to come in and just block everything here. The anti-stun is going to do 3, so I want to put the innovative blacksmith there. That's gonna stun. Oh shit, are you gonna get killed that way? Is that the way you work? Is this the way we really need to do it? I guess so. Wish we had a way to protect the other blacksmith, but I think this has got to be it. We take 1 extra point of damage this way, but falling to 7 feels fairly healthy. Be a Nox and Fervor rolling through.
I have prepared something very special.
Off of the Jhin. Oh, Jesus.
All play our part.
So that puts the stun down onto the Elkin. Not something that I was expecting, but it's just got to be okay. Holy shit, and Jhin picks up quick attack? Oh, that's a fucking disaster. I was not expecting him to flip out of this. I don't know. It just feels like if we're sending back the equipment, I guess we could have sent the Fixin' 5000 back to hand and then tried to block the Legion rearguard with a the dude that we ended up losing there anyways. Ooh, Hearthblood Mender just turns up. Definitely, I'm definitely on board with that. We're currently in Decimate range as it is, and so I think we're in the space now. We just have to play the Hearthblood Mender. I want to boost our innovative blacksmith, and then we're gonna have to fish fight into Jhin. We have to get him off the board this turn. So let's go ahead and drop the Mender first.
Stand with me by the light as my
Heal up the blacksmith. Tibbers is going to be kind of annoying this round, but pulling ourselves out of Decimate range is a pretty huge deal for the turn. There's old Tibbers. Interesting. So it's going to kill off the Elkin. But our apprentice gets to survive. And so if we want to fish fight off of the apprentice at the end of this combat, we're kind of free to do so. So I'm leaning toward just taking an attack here with our 2 big bros, right? He doesn't have to block, but all of his units here are pretty high valued. And then if we can get one off of the board after the fact, it's gonna be pretty choice. It's gonna be choice, I tell you. And so with this fish fight, it's kind of interesting. If we want to actually fish fight on the Weaponsmith's Apprentice, she's pretty decent in this space right now, given that she can block this Legion rearguard and still survive for the round. But having her in hand is what's going to let us put Anaka on the board. I'm not really keen on returning this Pot of Pain back to hand. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and fish fight. We'll send her away. I think with the state of the game right now, if like we're just blocking Legion rearguard with the Apprentice to prevent the damage, that's going to be okay. Because he can't block with it next turn. And so he's going to have to basically just crash in and win the game right now. And if he's not able to do it, I think we'll be okay. Squeeze them cheeks, fellas. Squeeze them butt cheeks tight. See if we can make it out of this one. Decimate rolls in. Oh no. Oh no, are we just going to get smoked by a double Decimate here? Definitely taking the burst speed heal, right? Let's load up this upcycled rake onto our Weaponsmith's Apprentice so she can block, but seeing that Decimate come out, does not make me feel good. So we're going to load up the Apprentice. I'm going to play Jaral, with the idea being that we're just going to open attack next turn, right? And so we'll hook Tibbers out of combat. We have plenty of damage between the Mender, the Blacksmith, and the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. And so that way, the only way we should be getting killed shouldn't be getting killed. We should just put it that way. Now, do we actually want to open attack, right? We can hook Annie out of combat. He has to put Tibbers in front of one of our big units. We have the lethal there. The space for him to get out of that. No, we'll still get in for 6, right? Because we have an impact on the Blacksmith. So if he blocks the Blacksmith, does a Nox and Fervor onto the Apprentice, then we'll still hit for 6 either way. All right. See if that's enough, Fam Jam. Let's see if that's enough. The Nox and Fervor rolls through, but the damage is there. GG. Oof. Victory unlocked. On to the next one. Now, the concurrent timelines matchup is, again, it's kind of scary. It's very important that we got that win with Vayne, since we definitely have our weaker matchups here as far as Vi Trundle is concerned. But it's still winnable, right? We're still carrying that nice package of all of the heal. You can see how scary it can be, though, as we played that game with the double Blacksmith into Hearthblood Mender, and we are still finishing at 1. These can be tough. These can be tough. And so here, we're going to want to just keep this as cheap as we can. Very happy to have the Urchin and the Boom Baboon. Vi is definitely going to go. There is some argument as to whether or not we want to hang on to this blowback, and I think this is definitely a no-keep. I want to find an innovative Blacksmith or something to just come down in the early game. It's like if we mulligan into that and just are stuck with it, I mean, fine, whatever, but it's something that we don't ideally want in our opener. Oh, the Sumpworks map. Not what we're exactly looking for here, but maybe it'll do something. Maybe it'll do something. And it's unfortunately an Annie. I would have felt very good about this if he was leading at us with Legion Rearguard, if we get to block with Zonite Urchin. Not the case, but power on, power forward. Let's drop the Boom Baboon. If he wants to play like the 3-2 Overwhelm this turn, we still get our attacks. Boom Crew Rookie makes it kind of meh, but I like the idea of, we need to high roll just a little bit to get ourselves through this turn.
Explosives primed.
All right, Flame Chompers coming in on blocking duty. I hope you're ready for it, my dude. All right, well, we at least get 2 trades on this attack. And having him, it's very interesting to see him put the damage onto Boom Crew Rookie instead of Annie. Now we get to just trade with the Boom Crew Rookie. I think that was a fairly lucky hit for us with the Rookie sticking around. We don't have tons of ways to just deal a single point of damage. And so, glad to see that one happen. All right, prevent as much as we can. Combat Cook's ready for action. What do you got here? I think we need to take the combat reel. It's nice to be able to pick up Pana Pain as we can come in and soak up the most damage with it, but if we're getting in this spot to where we're trying to cast blowback and stuff, I feel like we really need to just be picking up this additional mana, especially on this next turn. If we pick up a 4-drop, then we can play it and play a spell, or with the cards in hand, if opponent open attacks on us here, we can look to just play all of the burn spells instead. So how scary is this? I was really hoping we were going to get to blow back the Annie before she dropped a card. Not the case. And so we have a couple of options, right? We either have the mana efficient route of doing Hearthblood Mender, I think that he's just completely off the table. I think that what we're going to be looking to do this turn is adding in the Favored Artisan, and then just dropping a blowback, and then next turn playing the Hearthblood Mender. It's just too mana ineffective to put the Mender on board here. So let's come out and prevent max damage here and here. Drop this Get Excited onto Annie. Only taking 2 for the turn. Not horrible. We look to fall to 8 off of this. Gonna have some Nox and Fervors rolling in. Okay, so we fall to 5. But opponent has a pretty weak board here, and then we should get to heal up the Combat Cook next turn, so that he's not just gonna get a big, huge value Tibbers. The Hearthblood Mender rolls in. I like what I see there. I like what I see, but I don't think that's a real possibility for the exact moment. And now that we've added this Mender on board, if we are going to get the opportunity to attack, we could pick up the mana and then cast a blowback. I mean, we didn't get the opportunity here, but that would have been nice if we were able to pull it off. Okay, okay. Trundle rolls in. A bit awkward in terms of mana. It's like I'd like to drop the Innovative Blacksmith here. Is that the space that we're in? It just feels so nice being able to potentially gain 1 here and then gain 1 next turn. I just don't feel like Vi adds too much next turn. If we're ideally able to, say, deal 10 damage with Vi because we have Sumpworks map and then blowback, that's so close to the lethals. Alright, let's drop in the Innovative Blacksmith. The downside to the Blacksmith play is if he attacks with Tibbers, we don't have a unit big enough to kill him, right? But none of our units in hand are big enough either way, I guess. So yeah, let's go with the heal on this one. It's ultimately like, I worry that we're just going to get burnt out if we don't go for it here. So I'm going to pick up the Fearsome Equipment. Might find a space with the Fearsome Equipment to where he just has, say, like the Demolitionist on board, and then we're able to crack him away. So what's going to happen here? He gets the Lotus thing, and he gets the Gen Flip. Got to see where that trap goes. Ideally, is he just gonna? It's gonna do 2 to everything it hits, and then the stun is going to hit our Blacksmith, so our Blacksmith can block Gen and just not die. That's always a perk. that's a good thing. I'll tell you that. Then we'll take the block onto Tibbers. Now, do we want to Innovative Blacksmith here? Just trying to see if we find this spot to where we can, or do we want to blowback, right? Our Vi can hit for 10? Yeah, that should be lethal, assuming she doesn't get stunned. Is that enough? Do we want our Blacksmith to actually die here so we get the equipment back in hand? Get in there, blowback before the time all rolls away. I'm just going to take the safest path here, the way that gives us the maximum damage prevention. I ultimately worry about our Vi getting stunned next turn, but we'll just have to deal with that if it comes up. I think as it stands, we have a lot of opportunity just to come in and get this win here, especially if we were able to get a Forge. We didn't pick up any of the equipments.
I'm doing this my way.
All right, let's get the one-woman wrecking crew on board. There's the stagehand. ultimately not super surprised to see that roll in. At least we don't have to deal with it next turn. Jhin is a problem here in the sense that, you know, he does get to attack and nug us for 4. I'm just questioning. I think we want to be attacking here with the combat cook, though. Either opponent... I assume opponent's just going to block it with the stage hand, but I want to get this equipment back in hand and then reload it with the Weaponsmith's Apprentice.
I must do this.
I have prepared something very special.
Yeah. Sad noise. Make a sad noise. Yeah, I don't think we were going to be able to pull off the lethal in this one. We'll hold the amulet in hand just in case opponent does something weird, but I don't think we're going to get this heal in next turn. I like going for the Vi, though. We had the potential if we could have got Vi equipped. That's why I was curious on that previous turn. I think we probably should have let the blacksmith just die, right? Not worried about the heal, and then try and just go for the lethal with Vi, right? If they have the stun, they have the stun, but I don't think we ever win that game if we're not making that big elusive attack there at the end.
I'll let you off easy this time.
So I guess we could have gone after the Jhin as well if we put the maybe that was the ultimate problem there was putting the what's the Hearthblood Mender capable of taking down Jhin? I can't remember if he was a 4/4 or a 4/5. I was just assuming that he was going to die, and so I took the safety play there. That was I'd have to look back at that one and see. But strong ass start here. We got the double innovative blacksmith along with the 1-2-3 start. That's all you can really ask for, my dudes. That's all you can ask for.
Kindle picked me. That's why Smith.
It's kind of interesting with him not playing a unit if we actually want to drop the Weaponsmith's Apprentice here. Like, I'm going to be much happier with it next turn, but it's like our ability to come in and just make these favored artisans 3/4s is incredibly powerful as we look at this board now, right? Being able to just get the takedown on Boom Crew Rookie would be quite nice. But I think this is still a reasonable attack. If he opens on us, that's probably pretty good. And then if he doesn't open, we have the chance to get one of these bigger blacksmiths on board. It's definitely getting those bonus stats off the Apprentice now. So many blacksmiths, so many heals. Feels so good, fam. I don't know who else is streaming this thing, but it's important to come in and read the read the flavor text. What's this? The little fuzzball may not be helping me work faster, but he does put a smile on my face. Ah, fuzzball, you're making me happy too. Making me happy too. All right, let's get our blacksmiths down. Pot of Pain's quite good here. It's going to let us be big enough to block the Stygian Onlooker and survive. So we can take that angle and then still just put some damage on Boom Crew Rookie. Like, this game has been kind of wild in terms of how much better that favored artisan would have been if we had just a little bit of opportunity to make it a 3/4 by not playing the Apprentice. But at the end of the day, our blacksmith wouldn't be able to make this block here. And so every little thing, you know. He's not playing combat tricks. It has to be a burn spell. Oh, Unto Dusk. I forget about that interaction. Sure thing. I mean, that was a pretty healthy chunk of damage that we just prevented off of this blacksmith. I'm pretty happy with how that turn played itself out, especially with the second one coming in. So let's go ahead and drop it. See if we get stuck with a combat heavy one. Not really, but let's pick up the combat reel. Again, these bonus stats can be exceptionally good. Definitely want to be attacking with the blacksmith at least. I kind of curious here. Like, I don't think we're ever going to Buried in Ice this game. It's a pretty safe discard for us. So that's a place for us to get another unit on board. But I like getting this attack in with the innovative blacksmith and then being able to play the Pot of Pain. But if we're wanting to kind of spread these forges out, so we get one turn after turn after turn, then we're going to want to kind of wait on the Pot of Pain since we're not really guaranteed to pick up an additional forge along the way. I think I just want to get this extra unit on board. Let's get rid of the Buried in Ice. And now we have a reasonable attack for the round. Oh, no, not really. Not really. The blacksmith trade into the cask salesman's not something we're going to want to do. So let's just stop. Third innovative blacksmith. I bet opponents loving this. He's saying I had to play against old Bust, dropping triple blacksmith on me, getting all the heals. I'm sorry, my dude. I'm sorry. Again, here I just took the one that has the extra health stats on it. If we're able to drag this game out with units on board, we're going to be completely fine. So now we can put Pot of Pain onto one of our smaller units. Want it to be able to block a Fearsome is the big thing. Let's load up the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. Not super likely for Fearsomes to be coming in this round, but that's what we definitely want to be removing.
Let me focus.
Okay, so we take 6, good blocks on everything. Hopefully our blacksmiths survive the day. Looking pretty good. Let's get that one-woman wrecking crew on board. Is she gilded? This is still Arcane Vi. Man, we locked in the wrong Vi. I locked in the lineup before beforehand. Oh, snap. I was thinking in here if we're going to be able to... we're one short of the Sumpworks map onto Vi. It's a bit unfortunate. We can't protect both of our blacksmiths here. Let's at least boost up the one that has the fearsome thing on it.
The craft sings.
Let's clear out the board. We're going to take 2 at the end of the day and fall to 8. Is there a real reason? Like, I'm not super amped about attacking with our blacksmiths. I feel like as this game drags on, we're just going to be, you know, okay. Let's keep these blacksmiths at home. We can get the heal out of them next turn, and then, like, realistically, if we roll into the next round with the Sumpworks map, I don't think we're going to be losing the game. I think this is pretty well in hand, as long as we can just survive a little bit longer. Getting in 4 damage this turn doesn't really feel like a necessity to me.
Here, let me see that.
That's how we do it.
Alright, that's how we do it. Get our favored artisan on board, try and pick up some heals. Let's see what we can do.
In which there is a story in.
Is this the one where Ornn comes out of the lake of lava?
Alright, opponent's just out here digging for stuff. I think we're good to go. Uh-oh, we're gonna zing this clockling. The zing is about to come in. I'm sorry for the Sumpworks map action to come in and hit here, but
Tell it to the fist.
all right. Carry on. So we're not going to be doing any Elise hooks here. We have all of our big units big enough to take the Elise down. This Vi is just going to run through in the back line.
Here's the fun part.
Opponent's not playing anything like Vengeances in their list, so we shouldn't have to worry about our Vi dying. I think this is going to take us to the round of 32. anything in here. You can have some blowbacks and stuff to deal some extra damage. Bit all the blowback onto Vi. Does that stop us from being lethal? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, the battles continue.
Before.
Still feel pretty good with how this is going. Not
Bertha, please tell us a story.
The spirit of the mountain was
like preventing all of that extra damage coming in on the previous turn, even losing out on our Vi. I think that's more than fine. So we'll take a little bit more heal, move into the next turn. Should be pretty tough for opponent to get to 8. I don't think I saw any ways in there for them to do it. And then we pick up the blowback at the end of the day. Opponent signals GG. I think we're there, fam. I think we're there. All right, he takes his draw. It appears as though we've got it. GG. It's all right, not bad, not bad. Make our way in to the round of 32. GG's all around. On to the next one. Oh man, yeah. Before we start the next one, I paused the thing since we had time, and I went back and looked at that Annie Jin game. I thought in my head, I was like, as we were progressing on later and later, I was like, something was wrong with that, right? Why didn't we just block his 4/5 or his 4/4 Jin with our 4/5 thing, and then just let our other unit block Tibbers and get it stunned back? And I'll tell you exactly what happened. I just like immediately, I think even in the previous game, I don't remember if Jen was a 5/5, but I saw that like the Jen flip was coming, and I just immediately thought to myself that Jen's going to get +1/+1, and that's going to make him a 5/5, and I can't put my 4/5 in front of this because it's just going to die, right? And so I would rather put my 4/5 in front of Tibbers because it's going to actually deal damage. Otherwise, we're just not going to get anything out of this block. And I forgot that Jen is so intent on the number 4. he's the only champion in the game that doesn't get +1/+1 when he levels up. And so that now that it went back, it was so weird. It was like creeping in my head. I was like, I don't think that Hearthblood Mender was a 4/5 or a 4/4. I think he was a 4/5. Like, why didn't I block Jen? And it's just like immediately thought, it's like you see the animation. Okay, he's a 5/5. We're not gonna get in front of that. But that's the way these things go sometimes, man. You know, I'm far from perfect. I'm most certainly not competent enough to win this whole thing. But yeah, don't be afraid when those little misplays come together. That stuff certainly happens, and it's wild to see it happen like that. So I'm glad we were able to pull this one out. I think that Annie Jen game would have probably been much different had we actually killed the Jen that eventually killed us, and so it would have been interesting to see how that played forth had I actually checked his stats instead of just throwing the unit away. But nonetheless, hopefully we can clean it up a little bit, charge forward, charge forth, squeeze out some more wins, squeeze some cheeks along the way, and see how it goes. Oh, there we go. Into the top 32 we go. Up against Binglefish. What do we got here? Looks like we got Aphelios, Zoe, Victor. Is this going to be the burn deck, or is this something else? You got the mystic shots, the get exciteds, the blowbacks. He is playing the winding light in here, so it's not the full on burn deck. The people I'm kind of in the know with have cut out the winding light just to go full on burn, and so there's a bit of trouble in here, but this is a set to where we do kind of have the counter spell to the winding light and buried in ice. Up next is the concurrent timelines deck. This is the Jax of I concurrent timelines. Ooh, fallen felines running through this one. Interesting to see that. But otherwise, it appears to be straightforward at a glance. And last but not least is the Draven Samira Scion deck, which is one copy of Scion up at the top end. No decimates as usual, 3 blowback, 3 get excited, 3 mystic shots. So pretty straightforward from there. And so with these, I think I'm pretty okay with going up against Draven Scion Vi. Like it's we tend to line up pretty well in the face of like the fearsome path, and then we do have a little bit of heal to help get us out of burn range, and he's only playing one copy of Scion as the big kind of game ender, so I think that's kind of okay. He's not doing that thing like we did with the deck to where you play Vi, and Vi giving you ways to get overwhelmed and crash in for the big damages, so I think that one's fine. So it pushes me over to the other two, between Jax Vi and the Aphelios deck, and it's just not exactly what I was expecting out of the Aphelios deck. I tend to see this as it's typically just like triple Zoe and Aphelios with a bunch of burn, and they're just going to block up the board and then ding you with the Boom Baboons and stuff. I think that this is going to, at the end of the day, probably be our weakest matchup. I don't super like rolling the dice against concurrent timelines, but with my kind of take on it, I feel like we can handle what's happening here, because our units should just be a little bit bigger than the opposing units. And so I think we're going to come in, we're going to ban out Aphelios, and then deal battles with Jax. And then ideally, our kind of prime matchup here is going to be the Draven Scion Vi. Can't wait to get real mad about this Fallen Feline coming out of this deck. I hate this card so much. How big is his predict package, though? I see there's the Ferreth, there's just the one time trick. It's interesting to see that thing instead of the cycle unit at the 1-cost space. All right, then what do we have down at the bottom here? Scion, and then the nothing too crazy down there. And we're not missing out on any decimates or something by copying in the remainder of this deck. So, okay. All right, the battle's coming in. I'm prepared to ban out Aphelios. See how these go. Opponent says, oh shit, I'm about to get forged on. He said, then Forge is about to roll in. Ban a deck, Aphelios, get out of here. He takes away our Ornn. And with this, I think I'm just going to start off with the Jarvan deck. I think that it's, again, if we're going to be playing one of these decks twice, I think it's probably just a little bit more consistent than the Timelines deck. And if we do get paired up against Draven, it is kind of nice having some of these cheaper plays like the Steadfast Elkin coming out of here. And so let's start off with the Elkin. This isn't a deck that has a ton of super early game plays, but he can come down and disrupt a little bit. Disrupt away, my dude. And so how do we want to handle this? Do we actually want to equip up the Steadfast Elkin, or do we want to wait on Vayne? And I'm leaning towards just waiting on Vayne. It can be a little bit awkward in the sense that if opponent wants to drop it, get excited onto Vayne, they have that opening to hit her before the equipment comes down, but at the end of the day, I'm not super worried about that. Vayne's not the ultra critical unit that we're running around with here. All right, Boom Baboon comes in. See if old Draven makes the appearance. So many blacksmiths today. Y'all's want to watch me heal? I heard y'all like healing. I certainly do. What do we got? Draven coming in. That's fine. We can afford to take some Draven damage here. I'm not really stoked about taking a full 5 on this round, so I will look to trade the Boom Baboon for the Steadfast Elkin. But we're going to start recovering this damage here pretty quick. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and spear up Vayne. Could have waited until next turn, but I don't really want to take 2 actions next turn when we don't have like a combat trick or something in hand. So we're not going to be able to say play the blacksmith and then stop and decide if we want to get more actions happening with Vayne. So I think this is fine to stop. We can get shut down here a little bit in the sense that if opponent wants to discard onto Draven any of the fearsome units, then he is going to be capable of putting down blocks in front of what we do. So let's go ahead and actually take this open with Vayne. If he has to spew off a bunch of cards for Draven right now, I'm pretty okay with that, but I don't want his Draven putting a good blocker on the board.
Anything helps.
Right, he's got a Lost Soul. Didn't have to spend a Spinning Axe to do it. Here's, the touch of the bummer, right? Having the Fix'em 5000 turn up and miss out on the attack this turn, but I think that's okay. And then there is a bit of, reason to want to pick up the additional health unit as he comes in and plays Samira. If they have access to Mystic Shots, they have lots of ways to take down this blacksmith. So there is some reason to pick up that fearsome play for that extra point of health, but I think this is still okay as it is. Holding down the board just enough. Defector ready to party next turn. He likes quick attack. He likes all these cataclysms. He's gonna make shit get real if we can if we can just hold on a little bit longer.
Now we're cooking.
Is he opening on us? I mean, this is definitely a spot to where we could be playing the Defector and then just tumbling. Right, if he's gonna pull Vayne out of combat. 8 takes us to 10. So we lose out on 1 point of heal with the Blacksmith. I think this is just too good, especially given that it gets us really close to flipping this Vayne, and then we're just gonna pop off super hard with the tumbles and everything. All right. Well, here comes the fun, am I right? Everybody everybody likes a good Ranger Knight Defector. Oh, that's the stuff right there. Says, I'm ready for combat. We'll leave Vayne at home. Again, she's really close to flipping. I like getting these free tumbles. Maybe one of those inner beasts will roll in. Not yet, but this is pretty interesting in the sense that we can. I'm getting like really amped about this Hearthblood Mender. It's like we can in these spots sometimes say Hearthblood Mender the Vayne, attack with everybody, and then make a tumble onto the Defector. That gives us the Scout attack. We rally and then get to attack with all of our big boys again. I don't think that that's about to roll through here. The thing I want to kind of stop and take a peek at is if our opponent plays Pirouette. They are. And so let's just go ahead and do this. Let's lead off with the Ranger Defector. And then from there, we can decide if we want to just say throw down a bunch of Cataclysms, right? We can pretty easily start smoking all of these units with Cataclysm and the Defector. Or if we want to go a little bit more conservative, use the Hearthblood Mender this turn, still get fantastic attacks with all of our units, and then next turn do the cleanup work with the tumbles and the like. Hi, Defector, you're doing the work, my dude. Doing the work. I think I want to go for the heal play. Like the only way I really envision us losing this game at this point is through burn to the face, right? I feel like if opponent had a bunch of burn to actually come down and kill the Defector, they would have used it. They would have just dropped it at this point to get this nonsense off the board instead of just letting this dude completely truck them over and over again. And so I think they have to just be holding the burn, you know, to say, okay, I want to send this to face, otherwise I'm just going to lose the game. So this looks pretty good to me. See if we get them tumbles.
Is this your best?
All right, does get a Samira flip. A little bit of action happening there, but it's gotta be feeling pretty good here. What's the Scion at? Not anywhere near flipping. I'm trying to think of the ways to where, you know, this game goes wrong to where, you know, we're not really capable of winning it. And Scion would be a problem if he was flipped, but he's got a lot of work to do. Opponent does have 2 spinning axes in hand, and so they can have the Revenant come back into hand, discard the Lost Soul. That's 5. Like, he is pretty close to getting the Scion flip, but hopefully we can play around that. Interesting, he's holding back on the Flame Chompers and throwing his Samira forward. I guess this would be just to pick up the the burn card now, and then he probably just has another Samira in hand. It's going to be my guess. Gonna be my guess. Daddy Jarvan rolling through. Alright, well he's ready to attack. We can take the tumble onto the defector and get Jarvan on board. Get a couple of attacks out of him.
Let's boogie.
It does take us away from being able to pull off the burn plan, and so that's a little bit scary there. And I'm 100% gonna block this Draven. Just that in my mind, that is again the only way the opponent's gonna be winning this game is if he chunks in this damage with Draven, and then he starts to be like, LOL, I'm gonna play 2 spinning axes, and then I'm gonna play a bunch of burn right to your face. Like I can't let that happen. But I am kind of curious here if we do even want to let the Jarvan play go through. We can Cataclysm our Ranger Knight instead of tumbling as a means to just get more attacks in on the round, right? If we play the Innovative Blacksmith and use the Cataclysms and the tumbles, then Jarvan doesn't soak up that 6 mana, and then maybe we get to save him for an open attack next turn. Have to see what comes out here. How scary is this gonna be? Uh-oh. Big old chain of shit hitting the middle, right? Are we gonna get burned out from 12? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh my god, he got us exactly at 11? That's what we get. We could have put the Vayne forward. Fuck. Well done, dude. We saw it coming. We didn't take the maximum prevention, though. Should have put that Vayne forward. Damn. It's Draven time, bro. Damn, that was when we really wanted to be picking up as well. It's such a powerful spot to get domed from there. Well done. Well done.
Bind your wounds and keep moving.
All right. Let's see if we can't recover a little bit. Send Jarvan in here again. You got to get us on the comeback, bro. You got to get us on the comeback. See if we can't abuse Jack's Vi a little bit after we just got abused right there. All right, so reasonable enough early start. I'm going to send off the Inner Beast. I want to be looking for our Forge cards in the early game here, so apprentices are all fine if we can manage to find a early game dude. Opponent takes the full mulligan. I assume they're just digging for the timelines as hard as they can. Let's lead off with the Elkin. We don't have any improvises yet, so we might as well get our biggest unit down. Then see if we can't play the double apprentice here, or double apprentice next turn, and then have a forge on turn 3. Oof. That's tough. Draven coming through hard. We were spot on the strategy, though. I was pretty certain that... Well, I thought it was going to be all burn damage. I didn't think Draven was going to be able to face us like that. He certainly brought the face. Opponent found their timelines. You got to find something good, quick.
Kindle picked me.
Go for the double apprentice, see if we can't get around what they're doing for a moment. Scary stuff. Getting that unit with the forge, or with the improvise.
I am the night wind.
It's got a scouty dancing droplet. I think I'm going to go with the Elkin here. We need to get wider than this, and we need to get into combat fast. We're going to assume that opponent's just going to play on curve the rest of the way. I want to be able to get good combats here, and so if we pick up an improvise unit, we'll play it. If we don't pick up an improvised unit, we're just going to have to open. Opponent's going to just get a much bigger unit than us this turn. and we're not going to come in and just risk it to Vayne. Nasty stuff, nasty stuff.
You can fix anything with anything. I'll prove it.
Alright, what do we got here? Big ol' attacker coming at us.
Demons walk among
Sure thing.
us, masquerading as men.
We need something good, deck. We drew part A, we gotta draw part B now. Hi, Combat Cook. You can be the fixer. Gonna go ahead and drop him this turn so we can try and Hearthblood Mender him next turn. Leaning towards the Sandsworn Amulet. Pan of Pain, he's going to be a 5 health at the moment. 4 health. 2 naturally, 1 from the Apprentice, 1 from himself. He does give us the most opportunity to keep surviving further and further, I think. Like if opponent doesn't, if they get stuck with like a 3-3 here, we might have a potential to actually get in combat with the Cook. Whew. Fighting through the timelines is rough though. We need to go back against the Draven deck and let's see if we can't recover that one.
Not even I know what I'm cooking up.
That's a big old dude. He's bigger than ours. Certainly swinging harder than the Combat Cook. And it's a bit unfortunate. Like, we really want to play this Hearthblood Mender next turn. The power in the units isn't...
Let me focus.
Did he skip his scout attack? The power in the units isn't itself, right? The Combat Cook's just a 2-2. But we don't have the mana needed to really fight through with our Combat Cook at this point. Yeah, let's give him the boost.
Stand with me by the light.
It's unfortunate we're really kind of all in on this tough equipment, but it is what it is. And we're going to look to attack with everybody here. See how scary his concurrent timelines play is for the round. It's going to be a real pain in the butt. Ooh, it's only a Fareth. It's about as good as we can hope for. If he gets stuck with only having 2 health for the turn.
Come on, I'll take you all on.
Picks up another elusive. we have some opportunity to zing these elusives with the Inner Beast. We have to kind of keep that in mind, as it's something we can pull off as a possibility. If we're gonna say what's kind of likely to happen in this upcoming turn, as to where, let's say we attack with our 2/2s, our 4/5, and our Combat Cook, and then he blocks the 2/2s with his big boys so that they don't die, and then we get the opportunity to Inner Beast away 3 of these units because they make a scout attack there. I think we have something with this, and so let's hang on to our Vayne. Like, there is some desire to hang on to these Elkins as a means of just blocking these big boys as they come back through. But I think this is our shot to like clear out the board and then just go big. Now the other thing we can look to do is make a tumble play with a unit that has Overwhelm from the Inner Beast. But I mean, as it stands, we have a lot of opportunity to clear this stuff out, especially if he opens with the Dancing Droplet. So do we ever just get the kill here, right? So the thing that I'm looking at is our Tumble only costs 1 mana. And so if we Inner Beast onto the Hearthblood Mender, put the Pan of Pain on it, that's going to take him up to 11 attack. 11, he'll be at 12 because of the Inner Beast. So opponent would need a 5 health unit. They can fight through it. And then if this goes wrong, right? If everything goes wrong here, do we just die? We shouldn't. We're pretty healthy at 13. We'll fall to 13 from here, take 6 off of this, and fall to 7 off of the next attack. Takes 3 burn spells at that point. Okay. Alright, squeeze your cheeks. Squeeze him tight. We've completely advertised what's about to happen, and so let's see. This is why we don't play the troll chance, right? If you look at the kind of main version of the deck, they play the troll chance as the kind of combat activator. I like having access to this inner beast. You could see just like so many options we had out of it this game, between the 1 damage AoE and then this opportunity to just blast away right now. So he's dropping down pretty low in mana. He's got to be digging for a big high health unit. Alright, here comes the thunder. Here comes the fun. Crash in. 13 overwhelm coming at you. That looks short, my friend. That looks short. It says, uh-oh. Uh-oh, the inner beast. The inner beast coming through. The beast unleashed. Oof. Oof, all right. Take it into game 3.
Expertly done. Now to root out
This
the
is what
mistake.
Eternal is all about now, coming right at you. Am I right? We got the concurrent timelines up against the concurrent timelines. The thing I haven't even spoke to about this matchup is we do have those buried at ices in all of our deck, and so if we do get into this space to where it's been a real forge-heavy game, well, he's not playing forges. We're the only ones playing forges, and so maybe that really won't come into fruition, but we do have a lot more opportunity than him. So with this, I'll hang on to the apprentice. I'm not going to dig for the timelines. I'm okay with just kind of going for it naturally and seeing if we can't pick up anything nice with the forges. We still have a really nice collection of units here. I'm looking to lead in with the urchin and then just discard the blowback. It's going to be so long until we can actually play that thing. And if we do spike a timelines for turn 2, no complaints. All right,
Trundle, did
it's
you
not
come
here.
up again?
Let's see if opponent has theirs.
Anything else?
Not yet. Not yet. Castaway rolls through. I'm looking to just play our blacksmith in this space. Hopefully it's going to be better than his. He goes for the fearsome equipment. What do we have with ours? Upcycled rake is, of course, the more high-powered one. I think this is where we want to be going. It's going to be at a +2/+1, and so our unit survives against mystic shots, but a couple of turns away from now when we're going to be able to get the mender on board. So the way I'm kind of envisioning these next 2 turns is we'll have the rake on board, we'll make the attack, he'll trade, we get to play our dude, our 3/1 in hand, get that point of mana back, replay the rake, try and attack again, and then from that point we can try and upgrade the rake with the Hearthblood Mender. Just a very powerful sequence to take through here. Alright, so we're going to try and get his unit off of the board. If he doesn't, cool. I'm okay with that. Continue forward with the battles, but alright, the trade is made. Opposing timelines activated. So what do we got in here? I'm leading with the amulet now. I'm kind of looking at this as something that we may end up discarding. Well, it's tough. We have the double Hearthblood Mender, but opponent doesn't have any real answers to our scout unit. And so I kind of like the idea of picking up this Sandsworn Amulet as kind of a more discardable one, and we can look for the Fish-a-Whack later. But, I mean, that is a pretty strong pivot if we want to just take the Fish-a-Whack and then load it up with 2 things. But I think I want to take the bonus stats here, get the extra point of health, load up the upcycled rake elsewhere, See what we can get done for the round. What you got? A 3-1 tough. All right, the fearsome did not get through. Sad day there.
Got more scars than years, and got a lot of years.
All right, it's tempting to take an interaction with the Jax, but I'm pretty happy about going for these menders. Got a cat freaking out. The cats have been so happy today. It's been a nice and temperate 80 or 90 degrees out here in Kansas City, but
By the forge we create.
it rained today, and so it's been all cool out. We opened the windows. The kitties got all excited about it. And,
Weapon roulette.
good day for them. So let's see here. This Jax is going to flip right. How bad could this get? And so in terms of the combat tricks, I don't think opponent has any. I'm scrolling through the deck list right now. They have the 3 Mystic Shots, the 3 Get Exciteds, and then the Blowbacks, but they don't have any tricks. They aren't playing Catch or anything. And so we basically know what we're about to get ourselves into here. I would suspect that this attack indicates that he's going to have the Jax thing that that forges and gives the bonus. And so, you know, I feel like it's okay to actually lose out on the Weaponsmith's Apprentice here just to get that spell out of his hand. And so I'm looking to go this way, right? We're not going to survive this combat either way, but we prevent the damage, and then next turn we can put the rake onto the urchin and then load the urchin up with the thing. Sure, blowback.
Who's next? Bring it on! Story lives on.
Alright, upcycled rate. Let's get him. Scout's a fun mechanic. It's fun when we're doing it, right? It's fun when we're doing it. Let's see what he's got for us here. Feeling pretty good about this Zonite Urchin. Just doing the Lord's work, you know? Coming in and swinging hard. Fallen Feline, interesting. I wonder what the opponent's hand looks like when you have the timelines on board. You're facing down just a gigantic fucking unit, and you just go for the small one. I wonder if he has a very just like burn heavy hand at this point. One girl wrecking crew, that's a thing.
Hope you stretched.
So he takes a Jax block.
Win 'em all.
Vi is ready to party. She has Overwhelm. She's not quite to the point to where she's able to kill us. I think I'm looking at just attacking with both units. We're at this spot to where we just take a ton of damage, but we have a burn spell in hand. I mean, this should be fairly readable at this point. That the 2/2 coming in front of the urchin is pretty normal, but this is beautiful, right? This is what we like to see. If we can get Vi down to the 1 health or the 2 health, whatever, and kill her with the Get Excited next turn. That's pretty choice. I think opponent's gonna figure out what's going on here, but if we get to prevent this gigantic Vi attack, that's a humongous deal for us. Okay. So as it stands, we're only looking to take 5 from the one-woman wrecking crew, and she's going to have to open attack if she wants to come down before we start swinging upcycled rakes. Okay.
That's how we do it.
Alright, so can we power through this? I'm looking to add in Trundle. We can get Trundle up to 12 health next turn. So he's going to be able to swing in pretty tough, pretty hard. See if that's not a good start for the rake. The other kind of angle we can look to take on the next turn is like the pillar is going to put the bonus on the strongest enemy, right? Which is going to be Vi. And so we can look to potentially like not make a scout attack and then just hook Vi out of combat with these other dudes. We don't need to deal the full 13. We just need to get opponent down to 10, right? We don't even have to deal that 10 this turn. We could deal the 10 next turn. Or deal 3 next turn and still be able to pull it out. Yeah, that's kind of my worry with this space is if we make this scout attack with Trundle, we hook in Vi. It's kind of the same thing that we were trying to do to them on the previous turn, to where we take the Vi and just get all the damage loaded onto her. I just don't think that that's where we want to be. Let's just get more of these dudes on board. So in terms of equipment, I'm leaning towards just dropping these favored artisans and then putting the time and dedications onto Trundle.
There are stories in the ringing of steel.
We might as well see what his unit gets here. We can still pick up a Overwhelm equipment, which could be useful for our castaway, right? We're currently getting wider than the opponent as well.
You're looking at Ionia's citizenship 10 times ready.
So we can castaway. He's going to give us a mana back.
Rather be sailors, but this looks fun too.
Let's get that action in. What does this even have? 14? We're going to be... Okay, I think we're close enough now. He's got to... Well, we got to put these things onto Trundle. Going to make the attack. He does have the 5 block on Trundle, which is only going to let us crush in for 9 damage, leaving us 1 short. So, man. Yeah, I still feels okay not taking the Shepherd's Authority onto the Piltover Castaway. Let's see if that burn spell rolls in onto the Castaway. Whew, scary stuff. Are we gonna be like 1 point short? Looking it. Well, we put as much stats onto Trundle as we could, right? We couldn't Weaponsmith's Apprentice him at that point, and so squeeze them cheeks for the burn spell. All right. You know what they say. Sometimes it's better lucky than good. I'm just going to run him out before he has a chance to play more Clocklings. As it stands, he shouldn't be able to burn us out from his hand, but if he gets to start playing more Clocklings, we have to worry about stuff. And so, let's zing it, you know? Discard those, drop the Get Excited in. Why can't I play my Get Excited yet? Discard 1, 3 to anything. 6 to the Nugget. Might do it. What's his burn suite look like? 1 short. Woof. Woof. Squeeze him. Squeeze him tight. Squeeze him good. All right. Victory achieved. Feels good. That's tough too, man. Like with how tight that with how tight that Draven Scion game was, to then kind of come back and beat the concurrent timelines deck twice as they had concurrent timelines both games. Feels kind of nice, my dudes. Feels kind of nice. I know we aren't the best players in the world, but you know, sometimes luck strikes in a certain way. You can unlock a little victory or so, and so good stuff. On to the top 16. All right, off to the top 16 we go. What do we got here? One of the more scarier lineups. This is the one that brings me a little worry on the day, if you will. And so we have Annie or Katarina Nora, which is going to be a problem. I'm sure there's a bunch of disintegrates in here to go along with the Conchologists to find more. Looks as expected through here. Lord Broadmane at the bottom. Seraphine Samira kind of is what it is. The number of disintegrates in here is up to 2. And last but not least, Karma Set. I actually haven't had to play against Karma Set these days. I'm curious as to how terrible this is actually going to be. And I do not like coming out here and seeing this sweet combo of Tag Out and Concussive Palm to go along with the 2 Unworthy Souls coming out here and just destroying all of our equipment along with the Vengeances to go along with it. And so the Karma Set is going to have to be the one to go. And we're going to have to extend our lucky streak a little bit more if we want to pull out some victories here. And so let's take a peek at these real quick. 2 Conservatories, 2 Condenses, sure thing. I assume there's going to be the full collection of portals with the 3 Constructs, the 3 Portal Paloozas, and then 3 Noras, sure thing. 1 Pirouette in terms of stuns, but also 2 Arachnoid Sentries. Okay. 2 Disintegrates, 3 Conchologists, and then in the Samira deck, how crazy are the board control units, right? There's 2 copies of Jury Rig. Probably, I don't remember if these people typically play a lot of Scrap Dash Assemblies. There's only 1. And so not too much in terms of the actual board stuff, but still pretty problematic nonetheless. And so, all right. Well, we'll see how it goes. We'll try our best. We'll try our hardest. We'll load up our units with as much tough as we can and see how we can go from there. I assume in this spot, I'm curious if opponent actually takes out the Timelines deck in place of the Jax Ornn. I feel like as we were going through the event, people were typically taking Jax Ornn away from us, but I could see it going either way, depending on the amount of single target removal you have. Right. Just got to come out here, get our aggro on, show them how the best to do the aggros. What we can. I wanted to squeak through here again, see if there was any way in this deck to deal more than 1 point of damage. There's the Lord Broadmane that does 2, and that's it. So we'll have the Conchologist generating 2 cost potential spells, and then of course if the Ravenbloom Conservatory pops and he plays the big unit, that is an additional way to deal the damage. And so the reason I'm kind of looking at all that stuff is the way I like to approach some of these matches is if you can just set up all your units to not take any damage, then you can kind of counteract a lot of that. And the big way to bring that counter is with tough, right? So as we look through the Katarina Nora deck, not a ton of ways for the opponent to actually deal a point of damage or more than 1 point of damage, and so we try to set up these spaces to where our units are either fully healed because we've opened with a Hearthblood Mender or something, or if he's got the tough to prevent the damage or get some good quick attacks in, whatever. All right, so leading off with Jack's Ornn, this hand is a no-go. We need much cheaper stuff, much more early game stuff, up to battle against Samira Seraphine. All right, so Jax turns up to the party. Ruthless Raider as well, another friend happily battling with the tough trait. And I will make note, we are playing, I'm trying to think, I was trying to think if we want to actually play towards a counter-strike next turn. I don't think we are. I'm going to go ahead and just drop Jax and see if he's got a Mystic Shot or a High Note to come in and take him down. Samira's fine as well. We'll lose in the unit either way here, but if we wanted to take it a little bit slower and protect with these counter-strikes or something, that would be fine. I think this is a spot, though, where you just kind of have to risk it. The matchups aren't spectacular, and so we need things to just kind of go right. Interesting pickup with Catch now. I'm leaning towards just going with the Castaway, getting that point of mana back, and then we'll just try and stay as efficient with our units as we can. And so, got to go with the Shepherd's Authority here. Not super excited about it, but we need our units to survive, and so we need to be able to come in here, smash in the damages, crash in the damages, just do whatever we can to have our units not die. And so, Piltover Castaway doing his thing there. Got the Buried in the Ice ready for all those Plaza Guardians. That's that's how you zing him. That's one of the things I was worried about as we were coming into this best of three. Is in the initial event, in the day one of the Open with the closed deck list, the Buried in Ice is invisible to the opponent, but now they know. They know what's out here. They know it's ready for action. All right, Samira coming in, though. Can't block her. Not a problem. Lead in with this Combat Cook. See if we can't get another big stat bro on the board. Got to go with the Sandsworn Amulet out of this one. It's a very reasonable equipment in this matchup. None of their cards should be able to block the Fearsome unit unless they have Plaza Guardian already on the board. And so with this spot, like, I want to get Jax down on the turn. We can add the Piltover Castaway. He's just not a particularly a spectacular play for this round. He's probably going to be fairly weak. We'll go with the Pot of Pain again. I want to have some stats. Then we'll follow up with Jax. See if we can't get a swing and a hit in here. Sputtering Song Spinner. Okay. Well, we got the catch ready to go. I'll soak up whatever dumb spell you're gonna play off this thing, right? You got to tell, if you're new to the party, you got to tell them how dumb their spells are as they're playing cards like the Sputtering Song Spinner. You got to let them know. All right, Jax online, ready to go. Combat happening. We want Jax way down to the right. See what's up. Maybe he got a bad Song Spinner, right? That's what I like to hear. It's what I like to see. Lifesteal, Fearsome, and Ephemeral. Gruesome Theater onto Jax. Not going to be able to catch out of that one. Would have been cool if we could. He's not going to get to flip. But we get a reasonable combat. 8 damage to the Nugget. We'll have some decent refill next turn. We can play all of our units if we want. Maybe catch a Pot of Pain onto the board or something. Maybe, you know. And then if he tries to go big, if he tries to say, "What up, bust? Here come all the Plaza Guardians." You can bury him right in the ice, you know. So that's something we can do. It's on the menu, boys. It's on the radar. Okay. Gotta like seeing that. He's only got 1 mana at this point. Maybe you don't like seeing it, but I certainly do. Plaza Guardian online. He's only going to have 1 of them at this point. We could... Like, I'm curious with this because we have all of this mana that we kind of want to come out and spend. Do we ever want to just catch onto this Plaza Guardian, right? So we can catch onto the Combat Cook, fish fight the Plaza Guardian down, lose the equipment from the board, but the thing with this is we're only spending spell mana. I don't think I want to take this route. Like, we can spend this spell mana on equipment and forges and stuff, but it's something to consider there. Oh shit, he's got more Plaza Guardians. Ready for the buried in ice now.
This land is ours.
I think we're stuck just taking it all. Like, now that like the second Plaza Guardian is hit, I wasn't quite expecting the second one to come down. I thought it was just going to be one and a pass. I think we have to just take it and fall to 3. We haven't seen a Mystic Shot yet, but what's our other option in this space, right? It's like I'm worried if we make the block, we attack with all of our units. He just has the free block on 2 of them. Like that doesn't feel like a winning scenario to me. And so I guess the angle though, like we can block and then move back to this catch play to get one of them off the board and then try and connect with 3 units. I think we're just going to end up taking this. Oh, I didn't capture the deck list. Crap. I wanted to see how much burn was going to potentially come at us. All right. Well, squeeze your cheeks, boys. Squeeze them hard, squeeze them tight.
And you know what?
Bust needs it. Bust needs a good cheek squeezing right now.
Got a lot of years.
And the combat cook. So I don't really... We could actually just take a hit from a pirouette here, but with the opponent getting the chance to get more stuff on board, not amped about it. We didn't pick up any really good cards here either. Let's take this a little slower from here. Didn't quite work out. Again, I thought we were just going to have to deal with one. Maybe it should have been more clear that there was a second one coming at us, but I felt like one was pretty manageable. Caustic Rift into Disintegrate. Okay. So we got to worry about stuff like Ravenous Flocks now. Alright, Combat Cook coming in though. I think we want to go with the Fix 'em 5000. We're not going to get any overwhelms on the turn. And so if we end up just catching and not using the catch on the Shepherd's Authority, we might have something go there. But at the end of the day, what I assume is going to happen here is we're going to just bring this big attack. He's going to block our 2 biggest dudes. And then we're going to try and make a catch play down here onto this Ruthless Raider. And hope that that's enough damage to seal the deal. It's going to be a Whirling Death onto Jax. Alright. Whip an ally, Shepherd's Authority. Rip it and roll it, my dudes. It's 11 coming in. Nice. Okay. Oof. Victory unlocked. On to the next one. Y'all wanted to see that buried in ice, didn't you? You say, oh man, Bust got this buried in ice in this deck. There's a Plaza Guardian on the board. Let's just go ahead and drop it. Let's see it. Alright, not a great start though. I'm going to get rid of all of this. We want to find our cheaper plays. We got to bring that aggro, you know. I'll tell you what, if you're playing a game of Legends of Runeterra, you ask yourself, am I the aggro? And the answer is no. You're doing something wrong. You're doing something wrong. Alright, feels like we're doing something wrong in this one, though. This is not how you want the start to go. Innovative Blacksmith turning up. Saving our mana expenditure just for a little bit. Let's go ahead and drop the Vayne. We need to have something start going right here, as we're not going to actually deal any damage on this board. And so I kind of want to see if you know he'll spend some removals on old Vayne. Maybe we can protect her with the Inner Beast, give her a nice little target on her head, you know. And at the end of the day, if she doesn't die and our tumble starts to upgrade, good stuff, good deal.
Kindle picked me. That's why I smith.
All right, Blacksmith on board. Oh, I like this Fish-a-Whack. This one is like, as we have like this double mender hand, we're gonna be wanting to
Nice.
get some usage out of this Overwhelm, especially if we pick up a scout unit or something. I feel like this is where the magic is really going to start happening in this game, is if we're able to attack with the Blacksmith, they block, their units suck, but they take like 4 Overwhelm, then they play some burn spells, then we come in, tumble a unit, get another attack. Like I feel like tumble plus the Blacksmith is just going to be key to everything that we're doing here today. So let's go ahead and send it in. Opponent blocks, absolutely. Gets that damage soak. Alright. Seraphine comes on board. So we'll see how this goes. I'm really wanting to Hearthblood Mender onto the Innovative Blacksmith and then actually get the Forge before this combat happens. We're kind of stuck not being able to get a good Inner Beast right here, and so kind of is what it is. We'll let our unit fall. I'm going to replay the equipment onto our friend. Hearthblood Mender our friend up a little bit. Start those combats next turn.
Stand with me by the light, as my ancestors did.
Alright, overwhelmed friends. Let's get into combat. Channel your inner Rico Rex. Go over to EU. Ask Rico Rex if we're doing it right. He's going to tell you, Bust, is your technical play good? Absolutely not. Your technical play is no good, my friend, but you're overwhelming with the best of them, and that's what really counts in this world. That's what really counts in this world. Dropping the overwhelms. All right, so interesting spot for this next turn. I'm leaning towards just making open attacks. It's just the problem point here being pirouettes, right? If we don't open with the apprentice and he gets to start making pirouette plays, we're going to be in a bit of a bind. And so just going to continue taking these attacks. Might as well hit with the Mender too. And then we're going to build up towards this tumble. Just keep going at it, keep grinding on. See if we find a spot. Maybe this Inner Beast will come in and do something as well, you know? Give us a second overwhelm friend. So he's making a disintegrate. That's fine. That is fine. It's actually going to look pretty good next turn if we're going to look to go in with the Fish-a-Whack into overwhelm. We're going to have to make this decision right now, though, if we want to deal with the Samira. Or not deal with the Samira, deal with the Seraphine. She's currently at 7 spells. I'm leaning towards this way, just loading up the Fish-a-Whack onto the Mender, and then just doing a fish fight directly. Not worry about returning the equipment back to our hand. Just do the direct damage strike. If they have their second disintegrate, whatever. You did it. You have it. But that looks good to me. I will take this bank into the next turn. Going to see if we can't do some Hearthblood mending and Cataclysm. Yum, yum. Alright, here come the Plaza Guardians for certain, for sure. I don't know though, dude. I got big ass bro on board. He says, "Have you seen an equipment before?" Do you know what an equipment looks like? All right, let's slap it. Don't suck. Don't suck. Don't suck. High note Blade's Edge. Alright. He gets the rally. Does that cancel our attack? Looks like it does. Kind of lame, dude. Kind of lame. Does that stop all of his attacks, though? Looks like it is. So how do we feel about this? Now, the space I'm looking at with this next turn, opponent looks, pretty interested in just passing here, is I'm looking to go into the next turn, open attack with our big mender, and then play Anaka and tumble the Anaka across into the opponent. Like, I'm a little worried on this turn about actually playing any of these other cards and then him just getting a good swing back. So I think I like this. Send our giant bro in. He's going to have to put a Plaza Guardian out here. That's nice.
I hear you, Zon.
Hang on. Our unit didn't die. I was kind of counting on our unit dying there. I think it's still I think it's still okay. It's a little scary with the double the Seraphine out here ready to double stuff, but hang on. Let me see if are we willing to see if we fix all of our problems with the blacksmith? I don't think so. That's too scary. All right. That was a bit of oversight. That's the kind of top-notch play you see as you enter the top 8 of these events. Oh shit! Oh shit! Dude's in combat. He's ready to rumble. The block is put forth. You know the actual safe way to go about this, assuming we take our opponent to 1, is to go for the inner beast into the 1 damage AoE. See if that comes up. See if we punted this one too far down the road, or if he had a card, he would have had to have played it, right? Oh my god. Oh my gosh, squeeze them cheeks, boys. Squeeze them hard, squeeze them good. Now he's playing cards? Fuck. Fuck. I told you, we should have just let it go through and then dropped the stance swap in later. I told you guys, I told you. F. Alright, well. We still got Fish of Wax, we're still ready to party. We're still here. We're still battling. Phew. Never safe.
I did my best.
Song spinner number 2. Oof. Oof. Fam jam. Make it directly into that top 8. The play, good? Probably not. But victory unlocked. Certainly done. Collect that big prize. Make it into the top 8. GG, my friends. Alright. Quarter dash finals. Off we go. Up against Floppy Mudkip. See what we're up against. And so, okay, this will be a pretty easy ban for us. We're not going to play against the elusives deck coming out of the middle here. This Zoe thing is just a nightmare for us to deal with. Again, it could be okay-ish since we have Buried in Ice, but I'm not dealing with this. This is going to be a complete shit show. And so Teemo Tristana is one that I think could be okay. Interesting seeing Triple Quietus in here. That scares me quite a bit, given the full-on equipment theme that we're about to bring forth. But it doesn't make me feel any more like we can ban out, avoid banning out the elusives deck. I think that we're just kind of stuck. Maybe not going super big on our equipment, but this is a space to where have a chance, you have a shot being able to just get the general overwhelm plan and overrun the Teemo Tristana deck. Last but not least, the old Seraphine Samira deck. Anything crazy in here? So far, so good. 1 Jury Rig, the Death Lotus, okay. 2 copies of Disintegrate, that's the one that I'm always looking towards. 3 of the copy spells, sure thing. Only 2 Mystic Shots. 1 High Note. Not a lot of early game stuff to try and blow us up that way. And so it seems reasonable. I don't remember the exact deck list that the previous opponent was playing, but seems in the lands of manageable. And so hopefully we'll be able to have some decent success against the Seraphine. I don't think there's anything too crazy. 2 Flocks, 2 Disintegrates, 2 Pirouettes. All right, I'm not really sure what that's tuned towards. It's not the kind of nonsense that I would wish upon anybody wanting to come out and play the Seraphine deck. Let me take a copy of this stuff real quick though. I forgot to do that last round. You gotta work real hard to get all the copies of these dumbass cards into your deck. And so let me see, copying it into the old MS Paint. Got enough of it there. Teemo Tristana, man, three Quietus is pretty scary. Let's just copy down the bottom piece of this one, though. All right. Got it all locked in. Take another peek, another look in here. 3 Quietus, only 1 Pytos. That's kind of interesting. Our plan of going like super tough against this deck. We'll still probably try to do it, but it's not as important. He's only playing 1 Pytos, no group shots, 3 Pokesticks. So not a big worry in terms of that, and then only 2 copies of Vengeance up at the top end. There is the signposts to bring the potential counterspell to Buried in Ice. I suspect that we'll just never play around that as it is, but worth noting. Triple Minion. It's very slow. I'm curious if we can't just get up and running ahead of the Teemo Tristana deck before it's able to do its thing. So, all right. Off we go. Bringing in that ban. See ya, elusives. Timeline's taken away with us. Kick things off with Jack's Ornn. Okay. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Floppy Mudkip, one of the top players in the world, but he's really only bringing 1 skin. He's not even skinning up Tristana. Maybe doesn't even have the Earnest Elf Tristana in the collection. I don't know, dude. I don't want to talk too much trash about you, but that just feels like a mistake to me. Feels like a mistake from old Bust. Learn from the master as you're at it, my friend. Learn from the master. That's not the way you want to be doing it. All right, reasonable enough start for us. Nice early game curve. We can do this 1 drop into 2 drop into 2 drop and then still have the catch as a backup play. Happy enough to have that come along. Opponents bringing the elusive start at us, sure thing, but we have the aggression coming in. And then this is where I'm hoping our inclusions of the Ruthless Raiders can really shine, right? As this isn't a typical inclusion in a lot of these decks, getting the Ruthless Raider on board. But might as well just continue to play on curve, right? I think if this was a space to where he was playing like 6 of the 1-cost pings, we might be a little bit more reluctant to add the Castaway, but I think he's going to be okay here. He's going to get that bonus point of health off the catch if we need it, but Overwhelm equipment's pretty good here. See if those little minions start to come onto the board. There it is. Look out. I'm okay to make him just come in and spend as much mana as we can, and so I'm just going to start slapping. We're going to send the squad in. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Bandle Commando come in front of the Weaponsmith's Apprentice, but ideally, at the end of the day here, we got to just wear down this board, and ideally, you know, if we're weakening up some of these smaller plays, we'll just get the damage in later. And so I'm a little surprised that the minion isn't coming in front of the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. He's just kind of taking max damage as it is right here. But seems okay. I'm going to hold on to the catch. I would prefer to have it in a more high impact situation. Like losing out on that 1 health unit isn't that big of a deal. We have a really strong core of bros to be dropping down next turn. All right, Grandfather Faye comes in. I just want to add our biggest blocker that we can. He's going to be putting a 3 attack unit on the board. I want to have a 3 attack blocker here. The interesting thing with Pot of Pain is its ability to not level up Jax, right? And so as it stands right now, Jax is at 8. If we get into an attack next turn with our 4-power dude that's already on board, oh, he's already dead, but if we have a 4-power attack and then we only get to hit with 3 with the Pot of Pain, we're not going to be super happy about that. And so I'm going to go combat reel. Again, I'm kind of okay with this to not play around so much of the one-cost burn cards. 4 health is, I think, all we need here.
Serving lead.
All right, Team Elusive coming in. I wonder if we ever get to a spot to where we would prefer to try and Buried in Ice on his turn 6. I think it's probably out of range at this point. We just have to kind of continue on the aggression here, but there's a spot for it. I kind of like the thought. I like the idea. All right. These hungry Owlcats say you wanna play a Buried in Ice? F you, boss. F you, boss. And so I think we're fine with this turn. I'm going to go Ruthless Raider, Favored Artisan. I'm going to lead off with the Artisan here in case we end up wanting to pivot. We can pick up the 4 health units across the board, right? We can put the Fish of Whack onto the Favored Artisan, and then Time and Dedication, the Artisan, get it up to 4 attacks or 4 health so it can still reasonably attack through these Owlcats. I'm fairly okay with that. We need to just keep crashing this overwhelm damage in so that we can try and win with our Ornn 2 turns from now. I don't think we're going to be able to get up to 8 attack anywhere across these boards to get Ornn to flip before then, and so that's a bit unfortunate, but he does have access to the Overwhelm equipment, or if Jax flips, getting Overwhelm off the Light of Acacia.
Got a whetstone? Gotta sharpen my lamp.
The other thing to note here, the idea that I kind of had with this turn was that we're going to add the Artisan, we're going to add the Ruthless Raider, we're going to play the Fish of Whack, that eats all of our current mana, then we attack with the Combat Cook. We get that 1 mana from the Combat Reel, and that gives us an opportunity to... then slam in with 1 mana coming back for the catch. I don't think that's going to come together here, though. So my concern with this is our lack of equipments on the board, right? I'd really like Jax to flip this turn. It's looking further and further away. I'm just going to slide this over. We'll try and Fish of Whack the Favored Artisan. Hopefully it doesn't get hate spoken right now. The idea is that I plan to just load it up with the Time and Dedication and attack away. Even if he hate spikes at that point, we can ideally overwhelm the 4 damage directly through and then have Jax flip. We'll see. Alright, 4 health bros into combat. Let's see how it lands. Bringing in some blocks, sure thing. Going to be that hate spike coming onto Jax is what I think is about to happen here. Signpost onto the equipment. Ew. That's fucking nasty, bro. That's what nasty bro would be doing out here. Can't see how big our Jax is going to be. So what is he? He's a 3/2, and then the equipment's giving him +1/+1.
If you're gonna sit down, make sure you're straight.
Then he's going to flip up to 4. He's going to be a 4/3, right? Because this combat is going to happen. And so we should be able to catch him to have him not die. He looks like he's a 4/3 in the picture. I'm pretty sure that's how this works. Alright, there he is, not dead. Good job not dying, Jax. We figured it out. We learned the rules like a true professional. Alright. Getting real close in there. Now it is a little scary in this space. We fought through 2 Quietus, and so like I'm feeling decent about being able to get this overwhelm kill on the next turn. The Blacksmith, Ruthless Raider, whatever, but we have the overwhelm equipment and the Artisan along with Ornn. Jax has his permanent overwhelm. We got a real good chance to crash through this stuff. Think there's too much to worry about here. Trying to envision the removal suite that he has coming at us to try and take these little units off the board. There's no AoEs coming out of the opposing deck, and so it's going to have to be a big collection of like pokey sticks to try and stop this stuff. All right, we're going big. Blacksmith in. Gonna go with the Pot of Pain, capable of dealing 1 point of damage. I did the mathematics on that. We'll take the impact from him. Ruthless Raider coming down on this turn as well. Next turn we'll play Ornn. Hopefully that's enough. I guess the question where we should have slowed it down for just a moment is, do we want to, like, we're going to come in next turn, we're going to play the Ornn, we're going to copy the Fish-a-Whack, and then if we want to say opponent has Vengeance, right? So opponent's going to come in and Vengeance our Ornn to keep him from attacking. Then we're in a spot to where we can just replay an equipment. I think that would have been probably a better approach than adding the innovative Blacksmith to the board. All right, there's a pokey stick. Do we still want to stick with that? I think I want to pivot. Fuck. Well, that's 3 Quietus against the 3 Quietus against this deck. So now we have a new fresh question, in that we do have all this mana for Buried in Ice, and he's already played his Puzzling Signposts. Do we ever get a kill next turn just by playing Buried in Ice, right? As it stands, it's going to come to our turn. We'll Buried in Ice. He'll play 1 follow-up unit. Then we should have 2 units capable of attacking through, and then we're going to have 1 point of damage from impact. I mean, up to this point, he's already played, has he played 2 pokey sticks? He's played 1 pokey stick. I'm trying to think of like the fast speed removal that he could bring at us. I think that's a little dangerous. I'm going to go Ruthless Raider. With this 1 mana bank, it does let us try and Buried in Ice 2 turns from now. And so we'll add Ornn, and here we'll look to make that, that Buried in Ice on the opposing turn. See if we can't do it from there. And I was sitting here thinking in my nugget piece, do we just die to Tristana? Like he has the 7 mana next turn, right? So he can Atrocity on the Tristana. Doesn't look like it's a capability. Interesting addition with Jax. I think he's a little bit too weak here. Let's just go in with the Ornn. Only got... Can we copy a Light of Acacia? No, that's not in hand. Alright, so my hope with this attack, I don't suspect we're going to end the game right here. I don't think this is going to be a game-ending blow. You know, if opponent has a Vengeance for Ornn, kind of sucks, but he's in a spot to where he just has to block everything on this attack, or we're just going to straight up kill him. And so I don't think we're going to get the kill here, but I think we're going to wipe out enough of the opposing board to where they have to start trying to refill next turn, and we'll get a chance to Buried in Ice. Like, I don't think that that's completely out of the equation. Well, Buried in Ice is out of the equation now. So our Ornn does get to attack. That's, of course, delicious. But are we really going to be doing anything with this attack otherwise? Like, I want to leave a little bit of something back to block with. But he has like so many multi-healthers at this point. I'm leaning to go with the Overwhelm unit. That's going to warrant a block. Maybe from Tristana, but if not Tristana, one of these others.
The Winter's Claw.
And then our good units here. Get those impacts in. It'd be real cool if we could Buried in Ice right now. It'd be real cool if we could zing him with that one.
Take your time. I'm immortal. You're not.
Alright, Ornn, blocked.
Just kill me.
Overwhelm, bro, blocked. 3-4, blocked. Opponent falls to 2. It's looking like an open attack and atrocity coming at us. That's on the scary end of the spectrum.
Now this is what good looks like.
Curious if we should have just like slammed everything and say, well, you know, we gotta hope for the best out of this one. But that worries me about getting in a spot to where he can just overwhelm us. I don't like that. Or he just has more units on board than we have, and he can come in for damages. Make a scared groan, my friends. Make a scared groan. I'm not liking this. Alright, well, here's a chance. Here's a shot. Take it. No. No. Okay, just a hate spike. That's a little more manageable. As it stands, we can only block 3 of these units. He did pick up Overwhelm on this Husk, which is a little scary. I guess we can make an Ornn block in front of this thing. Not have to worry about it there. So he's got 4 units on board. We still have 4 units on board. I don't really want to add Ruthless Raider just yet. But, like, the thing with our Pot of Pain is the way... we have 2 ways to get victory next turn, right? We can either Overwhelm, which we could maybe do with Jax, or the double Pot of Pain. And I don't want this Pot of Pain... getting, like, we take Pot of Pain, we put it on a unit, we trade it away, then we can't replay it this turn. I don't want to be there. That's just too scary to me in the sense that, you know, that's just another angle to victory that we have.
Sounds like we have a problem.
By his hammer.
So this takes us to 2. I don't think we're missing anything weird here. Alright, well, we didn't get atrocity. Let's put our boys on the board, direct them towards the red zone. See if we can't unlock a victory. Alright, Floppy Mudkip, here comes the squad. Do you have the answers, my friend? Combat.
You're all in trouble now.
Tell them they're in trouble now, Ornn. The fierceness rolling through. Not enough. GG. All right. On to the next one.
Gotta keep that light burning.
Keep that light burning. It's been burning since the world's been turning. Whew, what nonsense though, man. 3 quietus and the puzzling signpost to destroy another equipment. Sad day for our equipments out here. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. All right, but he's switched over to Samira Seraphine. I want to find more of that early game aggressive stuff, and this is one of these spots I don't like starting with Vayne in our opener, but it's just complete disaster mode if we get to turn 3 of the game and then just don't have any plays. And so she's the weakest of our early game plays, but better than no play. So I want to ensure that we have something to do with her. Mulligan everything else. Apprentice turns up, which is kind of nice. See what we can do. And an Elkin. We'll play it. I worry slightly about the emergence of a Samira, but I think we can power through that. Favored Artisan is definitely good here. He has a Samira, we can definitely attack into her. We have to worry a little bit about losing the Elkin to her next turn, but we're good at the moment. And then you can find yourself making the all-star play of dropping a time and dedication onto your Steadfast Elkin, making it a 3/3 protected from Samira. So we'll see. We'll see if that angle rears its head. Ooh, an equipment though. I'm gonna say he's gonna be zinging. He's gonna be zooming it right in here, but oof, that had a chance to be juicy. So now I'm looking to add the Apprentice. I'm going to just go ahead and Darken Spear the Apprentice, and so then we can get good attacks in with everybody. The opposing deck shouldn't have, tons of stats that it's going to be able to just throw at this stuff. And so I think getting these kind of incremental upgrades will be good enough. Just try and build up as much board as we can here. Look at that. Combat ready right here. I know we got some Legion Rearguard appreciators out there, but ain't nothing wrong with a 2/5 Weaponsmith's Apprentice. Alright, Seraphine comes down, ready to block. Here's your boy Combat Cook. Want to go with the Fix Him 5000 in this one. Again, I want to just be building up board. This isn't a draw or a game as to where we're going to be able to make that one big super equipment and try and go ham with it. I really want to attack the opponent's ability to stop our width. If we can get them to start having to spend 2 removal spells on a single card and then still grow our board, looking pretty good in that space. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for combat. I'm ready to slide these units right into the red zone. Here they go. Attack step. Samira coming in for a block. Interesting. Oh, he's got another one in hand. Says I'm ready to go toe to toe with the favored artisan. Alright, Samira. You get out there. I wonder if he's gonna get a flip with her this round. He's got her up to 4 ticks at this point. She's gonna pick up another flare to go to 5, and so if you have a high node or a cheap spell or something to just get the flip here. That's scary, I give it that. Nice generate. Alright, so that's going to get the flip. That was pretty big. Oh, he didn't go for it. Interesting. I wonder why that would be the case. Just wanting to hang on to the flare. I find that interesting. And so here, I mean, I don't think we're going to be getting this Vayne going anytime soon. Let's just go in with another combat cook. Next turn, we're going to add in Jarvan. Happy to take the Fish-a-Whack at this point. It's, you know, scary to not have it if we're going to start getting in the space to where we want to start tumbling Vayne into the board. So that's just the kind of premier equipment in that sense, if we're trying to crash in this end game damage. So next turn, I mean, I was planning on just dropping the Jarvan at burst speed, right? So we're going to time and dedicate onto the combat cook. Open with Jarvan, and then that leaves us in the space to where on turn 7 we can play Vayne and pick up a tumble, and then maybe tumble out our overwhelm unit. Curious if we still feel this way with the unit falling behind. Like, Jarvan is still a legit threat. And then it does put us in that spot to where, I mean, the Fish-a-Whack is in hand, ready for the tumble. So I think I'm still on board with it, even though we're tumbling Vayne at that point, unless we pick up another big play. But I think I dig it. Combat step. And then if he wants to block the Apprentice, it's going to flip our Jarvan. I don't think this 3 damage is going to be scary enough to warrant a block out of Seraphine, but you know, I wouldn't be opposed to picking up some Cataclysms. That's 6 mana behind. Why would he flare? Just another... I don't know. It struck me as so weird as he didn't flip on the last one. I mean, it made sense on the following turn, seeing the Disintegrate come in, the quick attack Disintegrate into our unit, but it has left the Samiras unflipped at this point. I'm just curious if this is another angle to get her flipped. What? She's dead. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. So I guess another burn. Burn number 2. Plaza Guardian's on board. Okay. Let me eyeball this Fish-a-Whack. Eyeballing it hard. Eyeballing it hard. So he's Song Spinners. Seraphine's close. She's at 5 of 9. I mean, let's be real. I don't want to suspect that she's going to flip this turn, but at the end of the day, I would not be super surprised if she did. But I think the real question here is if we want to make a tumble this turn. The thing that sucks with tumble, and what ultimately worries me about this space, is we're looking to say play Vayne and then tumble into Jarvan. Jarvan attacks with the Fish-a-Whack. He only gets up to 6 health. And so if he blocks with the Plaza Guardian, we're only going to deal, is he at 7, 10? He'd be at 10, is that right? So we'd only hit for 4. And then we're kind of short on the upcoming turn. Let's see how crazy this nonsense gets. Make It Rain comes in. Like, I think I'm still on board with just going with the tumbles. I mean, our Jarvan should be fairly safe. And then the other angle we can look to go towards is, like, what if we want to say Fish-a-Whack onto Jarvan, boost him with the Mender, go into the next turn, open with Jarvan, see how that one goes, and then have access to Fish a Whack and Tumble again. I think that's where we want to be. And then if he's going to get, you know, ultra clever in this attack step, we're going to find ourselves in a spot to where he may not even feel comfortable attacking Plaza Guardian into Jarvan, because he's about to get boosted by the Mender. Jury rig. That was that was the one that really scared me about the potential we had here of making a quick attack with our Jarvan, right? If you're like, oh well, we can't overwhelm because we'll die, so let's make a quick attack. Makes me feel much better in that sense. So Plaza Guardians are coming in as 7/7s. Well, he's not going to be able to kill us here.
His fire burns bright in our hearts.
I didn't track how much he played in terms of sputtering song spinner cards. What did we see out of that? Not iterative improvement. Brothers Bond, Jury Rig wasn't. Make It Rain was. So he still has one more song spinner card in hand. It's really up in the air as to what that could actually be. How comfortable we feel blocking one of these 7-power Plaza Guardians with a 12/8 Jarvan, because like he's most certainly attacking through this turn, right? There's a 0% chance he's not attacking. But I mean, if we take 7 though, that's pretty healthy, right? So I think this is where we want to be. I'm looking at, this is our angle, this is our path. We're gonna just block 2 of these throws. This should keep us out of burn range, right? This will take us down to 12. I don't really want to fall to 5. We're probably safe dropping to 5, but he hasn't played Mystic Shot and he has a flipped Seraphine on the board. And so that ultimately scares me quite a bit. I don't want to fuck around with that. And now we're just going to try and go for this Jarvan plan. If we can get a 4 and a 4. This is fucking Bone Skewer? You kidding me? Alright. We were getting so close in there, man. Getting so close in there. So what do we need? Like scout unit? Has to be Vayne.
Demons walk among us, masquerading as men. Look closely at their eyes, full of fear.
Damn. It's gonna try and rip it on our Vayne? Not cool, dude. Not cool. Alright, give her a little protection. Say, you got 1 health, girl. We even do this with the Fish a Whack? I mean, it's the only thing we have that gives her stats. We can look to play Fix Him 5000, I guess. It forces a block, but he can make the block with the Scrap Scuttler. I think it just kind of is what it is. Bone Skewer. Alright, GG. Alright, on to game 3. Final battle of the top 8.
We will find them,
Back
and we
against
will
Teemo Tristana. See if we can't overwhelm our way through. Oof. Hydrate a little bit and get to it. All right, so what do we got? Reasonable early start here, and this is a space to where I don't think we're going to hang on to the Inner Beast, but this is a matchup to where you have to like really stop and consider it, right? They just have so many units that get killed by the 1 damage AoE that I really don't hate it. And so it's like I'm not super excited about the curve of Elkin into Spear into Blacksmith, but I think this hand is just all around pretty good. I mean, this is a pretty decent 1, 2, 3, nothing on 4, and then 5 play, where we can Inner Beast on 4 and then make a big AoE on 5. I think I'm okay with it. There's the combat cook to round out the curve, and so we don't have any forges to go with this stuff, but sometimes you just gotta unleash the beast, you know? The inner beast coming right out, coming right at you. Sometimes you gotta do it. So let's go ahead and equip. I think we're going to want this. I don't want to roll into this next turn and have to make 2 stops. And so if he's going to have like a pass here into a Grandfather Fae into another unit, I'd like to just have 1 unit come on board before we make our hit. Quietus. Sure. We got the tough, though. That's what our friend needed. Alright, Blacksmith in. I'm leaning towards the combat reel with this one. This might get us in the spot to where, you know, we're able to pop off with this inner beast. I can see an argument for that not being good, as we're about to go big with the combat cook into the Hearthblood Mender. But I like this idea of this turn. No, we attack, we bank in 1 mana. Next turn we play the combat cook, we have that 1 mana bank. 2 turns from now, we play the Hearthblood Mender, boost up something, attack with the thing again. That gives us that 2 mana to then be able to enter beast. It's just a very nice and clean curve to take out the rest of the way. Alright, well, you're not attacking. You're not getting us that mana, Blacksmith. Interesting. I'm curious if we won't want to pivot now to where we do more in terms of getting width and getting Elkins and stuff on the board. I don't think I'm on board with it. Just go combat cook. I could see this being more on point as a... ooh, here's all the good ones, right? He's already played the 1 Quietus, right? It's a really big upgrade that we get on this next turn. Whichever one of these we want to go for. I think I'm going to go for the Rake. At the end of the day, I think the equipment that we want is the Overwhelm. But if we're able to get the Hearthblood Mender up or get the Hearthblood Mender onto something because he's dropped in his Quietus, it gives us kind of an opportunity to respond. All right, Quietus number 2, that's out of the way. Well, we'll get to land some equipment at some point. So I'm going to go Elkin into combat cook. Get the maximum width here. Something's gonna stick eventually, am I right? Something's gonna stick eventually. The aloof is loose. Mender number 2. Alright. Combat cook comes in. Here's the Fish-a-Whack. That's what we're battling with. Quietus number 3. Here it comes. 6 Quietus floppy mudkip. Not bad. Not bad. You can't even get mad. You can't even get mad. But let's go ahead and send these bros in. I want to hang on to our combat cooks. If he makes the aloof traveler blocks here, and then we look to make a clear with inner beast, we might get a lot of units out of the way this way. So are we going to go for an AoE this turn? I'm wanting to get Vayne down this turn, but that's going to depend on the units that he has on board. Can't interact with Tristana. I'm going to go this way. I'm just going to start with this Apprentice, see if he takes the time to put some 1 health units on the board. And then we'll make the decision on the inner beast after that. So he's only got 1 mana behind and 2 cards left. I mean, I don't feel like we need to go too crazy this turn. Like, we're definitely blocking Tristana. I like this idea of being in on the next turn, just having our board kind of loaded up. and then just being like, surprise inner beast, here comes a big attack. Maybe that forces Tristana onto the board. So as it stands, let's add Vayne. We're going to put these combat cooks in front of Tristana. I'll take the damage from the minion. I think this is going to drop us to 14. Okay. Get that Teemo flip. He's the real deal right now. Says, I am ready to party.
Nice. Could be nicer.
Alright, combat reel in. Turn 7 now. Oh, Jarvan just turns up. Hold your fucking horses. That's a way to certainly get in front of this Tristana. Okay, okay.
Hammer, tongs, anvil.
Purified bolts.
So I'm just going to attack with our bad units and Jarvan. Jarvan getting the hook onto Tristana. Sorry, Vayne's not one of our bad units. I take that back. But this attack does get us into the inner beast space. This turn if we need to.
Just kill me.
And then next turn we can look to do it again. Like if we get to inner beast on the weaponsmith's apprentice, get Teemo to 1. Oh, Teemo's got fury. Oh fuck. That's kind of savage. Kinda savage. Alright. Let's boost our way out of this Teemo. Damn. I was so hyped for that Jarvan. he was ready to bring the heat like no other. Dang. Alright. Not out of it though. Not out of it. How sick would that be getting this Tristana off the board though? Big tough cap hits. I guess this Teemo is flipped. Yeah, he's bringing that thunder. He's bringing the opportunities to roll through. That's scary. So yeah, I'm not going to come in and make an overwhelm play here. That just doesn't strike me as very good. With this stance swap, we do have some potential with making tumbles here, but I don't like the units that we have on board. I'm just going to go ahead and drop the blacksmith. There's not a lot of good improvises left, but we need a decent attacker out here at least. I think it's got to be the Pot of Pain. Pan of Pain is okay, like in terms of this, like this 1 point of damage that we're about to deal with. Maybe it's fine. It's like it doesn't deal any damage like we would get out of the Pot of Pain, but stance swap with it and feel kinda okay. See if he's gonna keep dropping units, get that impact up a little higher. Oh god. Whew. Squeeze them cheeks, fellas. Squeeze them cheeks. If this this is an overwhelm or a scout onto Tristana, we are definitely done for. But he didn't snap it off. He didn't insta select here, and so might be okay.
Look closely at their eyes, full of fear.
You take one Yordle portal and suddenly geography means nothing.
He did. Oh, you nasty, aren't you? He hit the overwhelm, but he put it on Teemo. So if we do go for the stance swap, he's gonna get the overwhelm back in hand. Just gotta kind of grant that, and is what it is. I think we're gonna look to tumble this blacksmith now. Pick up another tumble next turn. Then maybe we can get something going. We're drawing thin here. It's definitely not looking hot. spend that mana. Make that money.
Hey, stop that.
Okay. Prevented a point. Lose out on those sweet ass heals on future turns, but for the one at hand, not bad.
Ornn comes out of the lake of lava.
Still got that 2 mana behind. Shouldn't have made that tumble. Now he's in the spot to where he's just wider than we are. Okay.
One big barrel.
Think we've been bested, Floppy Mudkip. Think we've been bested.
This is hot, you know.
You'll ruin the work.
Something like that. Looks like we're in that dead zone. GG, my dude. Whew, that's tough. That's tough. You can't complain about 6 quietus and a puzzling signpost, given that our games up against the aggro decks in the beginning, we were doing nonsense like drawing 8 healers and stuff, and so that's tough. GG, not a bad run. Made our way into the quarterfinals before we were bested by Floppy Mudkip, one of the best in the world, and you know, it's not bad. It's not bad, and so this is kind of one of these spaces as to where, you know, getting this far was rather surprising. I know that we had some real lucky hits along the way, but I feel like in large part our strategy was just better than the majority of what we were running against, and I think that carried us pretty hard and pretty heavy. And so at the end of the day, I think that this was pretty good. I know that we didn't really get to showcase any of the Buried in Ice today, but we also didn't play against any Ornns along the way, and we didn't play against any other real equipment-based deck along the way outside of that Concurrent Timelines Jax. And so it wasn't as impressive as we wanted it to be, but there's still a lot of power there. And so that's what I kind of feel like my strengths are in this kind of thing, is I'm not a very good technical player. In the grand scheme of things, sure, I'm better than a lot of players, but in the grand scheme of things, my technical play isn't that good. But I feel like our game planning and our deck building are good. The thing that I was always kind of exceptional at in Magic was refining what you would say, give me a 55 card deck and I'll give you an outstanding 75. And I think I'm quite good at that in terms of Runeterra, and I think that carried us a long way here today. Kind of recognizing the strength of the Forge decks and the Infinity Patrons deck, and coming up with the idea of the Timelines deck to where it's not a real Timelines deck, it's just a Forge deck with Timelines in it. I think that all carried us pretty hard. Much more so than these decks did. And it's like, as we were playing through some of these games and just making absolute nasty misplays, I had to just think to myself, if someone of the caliber of a Floppy Mudkip wasn't out here just playing garbage decks like Seraphine Samira, and they had access to the better lineup, they would have just smoked their way through the entirety of this piece of the tournament. And so I think that's pretty interesting and good. But nonetheless, our trial ends here. Our battles are done. Nice little milestone. Battles with Bust number 400, getting up to the quarterfinals. That is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.